Okay, before I start this video, I just want to say if you're somebody that is really sick of Game of Thrones critique, then one, I don't blame you, but two, maybe don't watch this video because I need to rant about this ending, this show that I've watched for 8 years, and all my friends are sick of me talking about it, so this is my only way to express my emotions. So if you don't want to hear any more critique about this show ending, then that's totally okay, but maybe don't watch this. If I sound really nasally in this video, I'm sorry. It's because I'm still sick. My cat's here, by the way, if you're wondering what that is. Game of Thrones is over, and I kind of want to talk about the ending because I went into this season, you know, with a very open mind, and I was hoping that I would be somewhat satisfied by the ending, even though, you know, I've kind of had a long and complicated relationship with the show, but, you know, you just have to view it separately from the books because I'm an annoying book reader. Kind of realize it's its own entity, but I still feel like this ending has done just the show itself and the past 7 seasons a disservice, and a lot of the characters a disservice as well. And that's because so much of what's happened has had no consequence from any of the previous actions of the last seasons. That's my main issue with this ending, is that why was Jon discovered to be a Targaryen? I guess to give people a reason to turn on Dany, but what did it really mean in the end? It didn't really mean anything. Why was the Night King after Bran? We will never know. What was the point of Bran becoming the three-eyed raven? It just makes me really annoyed. Like, what Dany's whole epic story, which I felt like Dany had the most complex and interesting and sort of like hero-esque plot of the whole series, and then she just goes mad in 20 minutes and that's all for nothing. What? I couldn't deal. And say what you will about the Dany plot, I just think shifting her character's motivation from last season, where she literally said, I don't want to be the Queen of Ash, where there's a whole bunch of videos on this that you can watch, but literally I think that line alone, I don't want to be the Queen of Ashes, is what I'm pretty sure is what she says. To go from that, and then she just randomly changes her mind because they didn't want to have, basically to me, it feels like they didn't want to have Daenerys on the throne in the end, and the only way they could think to get rid of her was to do this, which I guess kind of makes sense because why else would Dany not end up on the throne? But to do this to her character, I'm like, why couldn't she have just died fighting the dead or something, instead of kind of just randomly altering her character? And then in this last episode, they give Tyrion this like really long speech about all the things that she's done in order to try and convince you that killing her off is right. But I like that they have to do this in a speech by Tyrion because the screen time from this season and the actions of the character this season haven't actually really done enough to convince us of that, so they have to do it in this like massive exposition. Oh, it infuriates me. And that scene honestly didn't make me hate Dany, that just made me irritated at the writers because I could just tell this is the motivation. Like, it was so obvious they were trying to be like, you don't like Dany's evil, this is what we're trying to do to make you hate her. And I'm like, it's not working because she's my girl forever, and like, you've just ruined her. And I don't think it's Daenerys' fault that I don't know, this person isn't even real, but this is how pissed off I am. The Dany ending really frustrates me. The lack of kind of all these loose ends that never got tied up, and also like Jaime's character. I mean, there's a kind of like an argument going on right now about the point of Jaime's character progression. I personally find that they sort of reverted on it, and everything that he had grown from was just sort of taken away so he could go back to his sister and be in that toxic relationship again. And even though I guess there was a kind of and it was a nice wrap up, there was a nice sort of like symmetry from the beginning by them coming back together to die together. Like, what was the point of his whole arc in the whole show? And I also don't understand what was the point of getting Jaime and Brienne together just so he could fuck off. Like, why? I don't get it. I don't like really ship Jaime and Brienne, but I appreciate their kind of on-screen relationship, but it just felt so like it was just trying to get them to have that scene just for fans' sake and then be like, okay, but no, anyway, see ya. And then to top it all off, I guess there has been such a build-up of who is going to kill Cersei. I felt like it was going to be Jaime, and it was going to be like he's the Queenslayer instead of the king, like the Kingslayer as he was in the beginning. And when he was the Kingslayer, everybody gave him shit for it and hated him for it, but he knew in his heart that he did the right thing. Whereas this was kind of going to be the opposite, where he felt like it wasn't the right thing, but he had to do it, and everyone's like, yeah. But no, instead, Cersei gets killed by a fucking rock. Also, I saw this on Twitter and I agreed, like, when she was like, oh my god, you're bleeding, you're hurt, when he came out, when she had just given Bronn, like, an arrow to kill him, like, 1 episode ago, I literally started laughing. I was like, what? What? She literally said, kill this bitch 2 minutes ago, and now she's like, yeah! Now, of all my 3 favorite characters of the show are Daenerys, Sansa, and Sandor. 2 of my faves didn't make it to the end. As for Sandor dying, I was really upset about it. I don't think it's, like, the worst thing they've done on this show, but I was kind of really hoping that he would survive that because I love him and I wanted him to, and I was really pissed that they killed him off, but I don't think it didn't make sense for the story or whatever, but I'm hoping that that's not what happens in the books, because I'll be really fucking upset because I just love him. So that was depressing for me. But then Dany's death, I feel like, is so illogical, so just self-serving, so I just can't get over it. Like, I can see why they've done it, and it's just to get her out of the way. For me, that's what it feels like. Even if they built this up more, if they had a slow burn of her kind of turn, I still wouldn't have agreed with it, but it would have made more sense, I guess, to watch. As a viewer, this was just a shift in motivation that didn't really make sense, which is what frustrated me the most about it. And then to top it all off, I think everybody is in an agreement that this season has just been kind of bad. I personally find the writing, like the dialogue of the season, very clunky. It feels like everything they're saying is a draft of a script, like when they've just written sort of like the skeleton of where the story needs to go for the episode. They didn't embellish it or flourish it or have it be interesting or be saying something or add sort of a nuance to any of the dialogue and who's speaking to who and why. They've just kept this big thing of exposition whole show. To me, that's what it feels like. Even in this last episode, like when Sansa said to Bran, oh, you'll make a good king, but the North needs to be independent. And we will be, lol. And that was like it. It just felt really, like, just clunky. I can't think of another word, but see, I'm not expressing myself very well either. I am with the Game of Thrones writers. It just felt really, like, unnatural, and it didn't have that same rhythm. Okay, for example, in the earlier seasons, one of the most, like, iconic scenes is the power is power scene. Like, there was none of that clever writing I felt in this season. Nothing to that caliber anymore. Yeah, I thought the first 3 episodes were actually alright, despite the fact that I couldn't see much going on in the long night. I actually enjoyed watching that. I felt like it was well paced. There was a few things that I didn't like about it, but overall it was a good episode. It had me really into it, and I thought the ending was good. But still, I think it was a really well done episode, whereas the last 3 were just there was no reason. It doesn't matter. Who cares? What was the formations of the White Walkers? I don't know. When Jon and Daenerys had that conversation, I saw this on Tumblr, I think. They're like, she said, oh, I can't have children. And he's like, did you ever think, that she might not be a reliable source of information? And people are like, haha, just random dialogue. Turns out, yes, it was. Well, sorry this video was so disjointed and made really no sense. I just needed to rant about the finale because I watched it like half an hour ago, and now I feel like empty inside. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to reading Three Dark Crowns because that's giving me something, so yeah. Game of Thrones, at least, thank you for the last, however many years. I started watching the show in 2012, so I'll always be grateful for the characters it's given me, for the stories, especially for the earlier seasons, which I still love so much. And I could honestly watch the Blackwater Battle episode like a billion times over and never get sick of it. I'm just really sad that it ended this way, and it ended in this very rushed way, I felt. I think that's the main thing, is that not everything was really resolved. It wasn't satisfying. It didn't make sense and wasn't really in character with the past story that's been built. And even though it's still a well-made show and everything, I just wish that, it hadn't ended this way, but it has, so we just have to accept it. and move on and appreciate it for what it was. Okay, my rant is over. Cool. And I'm very happy though for my girl Sansa, Queen of the North. Hell yeah. Okay, thank you for watching this really mess, rant, illogical sense of a video. More illogical than the last season of Game of Thrones probably, but whatever. So thank you for watching. I'll try to edit this into something that makes sense. Probably won't, but I will. Okay, goodbye. Also, I forgot to say when they put that A Song of Ice and Fire book in the show, I was like, you wish.